Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another draft of the Innistrad Crimson Vow format, although this time I will be playing a traditional draft. The main differences between Premier Draft and Traditional Draft are that in Traditional Draft, much like drafting at your friendly local game store for Friday Night Magic, you will be playing a Swiss event. That means you're going to be playing 3 rounds regardless of your win rate. You can't get kicked out of the event, you can't like 7-0 and play a million games. You're going to be playing 3 best of 3 rounds no matter what. And you do get decent rewards if you get 2 or 3 wins. If you get 2 wins, you get 1,000 gems back. 3 wins, you get 3,000 gems back. So 3 wins is where it's really at. You're getting a lot of value that way. However, at 0 or 1 round wins, you get like 1 pack or 2. So definitely a pretty high stakes format, but you get to play a lot of Magic and you get to get some practice in, and it is unranked. So if you're not wanting to grind the mythic ladder, then it's also a nice alternative. So anyways, let's just get into the draft now. Our pick 1 pack 1 was very self-explanatory there. Jacob Hauken Inspector being quite the powerful mythic rare in blue that can go in literally any 2-color deck and be super solid. So moving on to pack 2, maybe have a little bit more choices here. We do have Hero's Downfall, excellent removal spell, and it is very important to pick up good removal in this format, in particular with the amount of powerful must-kill cards like Jacob Hauken himself. I think I'm pretty high on just taking Hero's Downfall here. We could also stick to blue and take a nice draw spell like Scattered Thoughts or a recurring way to draw cards, the Mischievous Catgeist, but I feel like Hero's Downfall is just going to be the better card, the kind of effect that we get less often at such a cheap instant speed rate. Ooh, now I think I am pretty happy to stick to blue here, seeing a Gutter Skulker. This card is really nice in board stall situations, making sure that you can keep getting damage in somehow, either with the Skulker itself or the Gutter shortcut getting thrown onto another creature from the graveyard. So Gutter Skulker, super nice card for board stalls, really nice to fit into this potential blue deck here. Bramble Worm's a lot of fun too, but it is a ton of mana. You do have to commit a little bit to a somewhat of a ramp strategy there. But I think that would be my second pick out of this pack. And then other than that, some good commons. Kindly Ancestor really mucking the board up against aggressive decks. Point of Discussion being a nice draw spell. Chill the Grave, decent interaction there. Now, pick 4. Not too much going on in blue or black. Wedding Security is quite nice if you can produce a lot of blood tokens. Black has a decent amount of ways to do that, and I do like most of the blood token producing cards in black, so we could take that and speculate on blood tokens. Could take Grisly Ritual as well. Definitely the worst removal spell. The worst removal spell, I think, in mono black. However, it is still removal, which is good, and by the time you have 6 mana, those blood tokens are very valuable, because any extra lands at that point, you'll just filter them away with the blood. So Grisly Ritual's fine too, but I think I'm just going to take the Wedding Security here. Speculate on getting some blood tokens throughout this draft. So not much at all in blue or black, but really not much at all in this pack. Pretty filler red creature here, filler green creature, filler white creature, really. Nothing super impressive at all here. Yeah, I'll just take the on-color filler creature. We're not really missing out on anything out of this pack. Alright, so now that we're at pick 6, we are actually seeing some cards I would consider white signals. If we see Sigarda's Imprisonment, pick 6 for white, this is probably the highest pick in terms of the white commons for me personally, just because, again, removal is so important in this format, and this is pretty fantastic removal. There is also Kindly Ancestor, another card I would take quite highly in white, and both of these still in the pack. Pick 6 has to be a decent sign for white here. Other than that, the best cards in the pack: Scattered Thoughts, good draw spell, Blood Fountain, good recursion, and Lacerate Flesh is fine removal. But seeing these two this late, I think I'm going to speculate on white here and take Sigarda's Imprisonment, see if white is one of the more open colors to move into at this point. Now in pick 7, we have a Gift of Fangs, which is good against non-vampire decks. but obviously going to be very sad if you're playing against vampires. Grisly Ritual, ton of mana, but it can kill creatures against any deck. Honestly, I might be higher on Grisly Ritual than I am on Gift of Fangs lately, simply because I've had Gift of Fangs pan out pretty poorly for me so often, but a lot of that is just kind of a coin flip, a bit of a die roll there on whether or not you're specifically paired against vampires. So maybe not giving the gift enough credit here just because of how often I've been paired against vampires when I've had it in my deck, but I'm going to take Grisly Ritual over it. So now, between Binding Geist and Stitched Assistant, what do I want? I like both of these cards. I feel like I like Stitched Assistant a little bit better for blue-black, which is what we are looking to be moving into if possible. So I think I will take Stitched Assistant over the Binding Geist. Binding Geist generally probably a little bit better because you don't really need to work to make it do anything, whereas with Stitched Assistant you do need to put a little bit of work, have a lot of creatures in your deck, hopefully some expendable stuff, but that is something that blue-black is very capable of in this format. Exploit is one of the main strategies for that color pair. So I guess we get to take like an Alchemist Retrieval here, which is mildly playable in certain situations. It's between that and like a Sawblade Slinger, which, yeah, it's also just kind of fine, so I'll take Alchemist Retrieval. Don't really feel the need to take the off-color card just because it's, like, moderately better. So I'm actually not a very big fan of Catgeist. I think I have this card lower than a whole lot of people. That being said, it is pick 10 here, so I guess maybe not. But I'm actually just going to take Scattered Thoughts over the Catgeist. I feel like it's just pretty difficult to get a lot of creatures through. It's obviously really good in like the blue-white deck where you have a lot of cheap flyers and stuff, but in blue-black here, like especially with all the creatures I have so far, we have like one card that combos well with it, Gutter Skulker, and I feel like we're just going to have a lot of cluttered board states because that just happens a lot in this format where it's really just not going to do what we want it to do. We're just not going to be able to connect. And the fact that you need to be dealing combat damage to get anything out of the card is what makes it pretty rough sell for me. And here we are with our rare in pack 2. This is a Dread Feast Demon. This is probably the most common massive bomb in the set. I don't know if it's the biggest bomb in the set, but it is up there. It's got to be top 3. And the fact that this one's only a rare and not a mythic means this card is the bane of a lot of people's existence. 7 mana, you're getting a 6/6 flyer. During your end step, you sack a non-demon creature and then make a copy of the Dread Feast Demon, which means that the turn after, sacrifice 2 non-demon creatures and get 2 more of them. Pretty unbeatable card. If you have just 1 creature on the board when you play this, and then all of a sudden, instead of, you know, a 4/4 or a 2/2 or whatever you had on the board, now you just have 2 6/6 flyers your opponent has to deal with. And if they don't deal with them all, they're just going to keep turning your other creatures into more 6/6 flyers. Very, very brutal card. Even the copy of the Dread Feast Demon has the ability to make more demons, so your opponent needs basically 2 removal spells immediately to survive the Dread Feast Demon. Massive, massive bomb there. So here I'm actually pretty happy to take Doom Dissenters, specifically because I am blue-black, which has a lot of sacrifice going on. It's obviously great with Dread Feast Demon, pretty good with the Stitched Assistant, stuff like that. Just great with exploit cards. I am pretty high on Doom Dissenter whenever I'm in blue-black for the exploit decks. I've played Bloodsworn Squire a lot. It's been very slow to me, so I don't love that card. Courier Bat, really good in like black-white, where you have a lot of consistent ways to gain life. You have a lot less of that in black-blue. Desperate Farmer actually also okay in like blue-black exploit, because we can sacrifice our own stuff. So that is pretty solid. A pretty solid choice as well there. Well, this will be another pretty easy pack here. Pretty easy fast pick, I guess is where my brain was going. Geralf, Visionary Stitcher in blue-black. We're going to have a lot of zombies, so this could potentially just be a 3-mana 1/4, give a bunch of our creatures flying, but it also has the ability to sacrifice non-token creatures to create XXs, where X is that creature's toughness. And of course, because the XXs are zombies, they will be flying as long as Geralf remains on the board. Pretty ridiculous bomb, another fantastic card to just slam into this deck. Super easy pick there. Don't have a ton of creatures here, 9 creatures, 6 non-creatures, so I kind of want to just take like a Cruel Witness here, just being a very nice filler creature. 4 mana for a 3/3 flyer that gives us the Surveil ability when we cast non-creature spells. Looking at the top card of our library, putting it in the graveyard if we don't need it. Definitely don't want Ragged Recluse in this color pair, and like this card only works if you have a lot of blood tokens, and I played a deck that had like 15 blood token producers, and even there I wasn't particularly impressed with it. So I definitely wouldn't play it here. So it's between that, Chill of the Grave, and Soul Cipher Board. Soul Cipher Board's pretty slow, and I already have 1 copy of Chill of the Grave, so Cruel Witness it is for me here. Alright, pretty easy Diver Scab to me. We could go with the Cradle of Safety here. This is a card that goes up a lot in value when you have like individually powerful creatures that are important to protect. Cards like Jacob Hauken, Gutter Skulker, Dreadfast Demon, Geralf. But at the same time, you do have to hold that extra mana up in addition to whatever you've just cast. And this card tends to go pretty late in the packs. I think I'm just going to take the Diver Scab, but I could see this deck running 1 or 2 copies of Cradle of Safety. It's just the kind of card we can usually pick up later. Alright, so we have Wretched Throng here. How are we doing on 2-drop creatures? I think we're pretty low. We have 3 of them. Yeah, I could take a Wretched Throng here, speculate a little bit on that. Definitely want to have a good count of 2-drop creatures, especially with 3 mana cards that let us sacrifice stuff like Stitched Assistant and Geralf. And so if we manage to get 2 or 3 copies of Wretched Throng, it'll be nice. If we only pick up the 1 copy of Wretched Throng, it's pretty much unplayable. But at 2, it's okay. At 3 or more, you're very happy with Wretched Throng. So I'll pick that one up a little early here so that the second Wretched Throng is actually just super exciting. So now I can take another Cruel Witness or a Chill of the Grave. So second Cruel Witness, second Chill of the Grave. Like a filler Wedding Invitation. I feel like Chill of the Graves are kind of flying around these packs. I'll take another Cruel Witness here. Ooh, Whispering Wizard. I love me a Whispering Wizard. 4 mana for a 3/2, get a 1/1 flyer whenever you cast a non-creature spell. Only do it once per turn, but that is still a lot of flyers. Really nice card there. I'll take the Whispering Wizard. Here we get our second copy of Wretched Throng, and we're pretty happy with it. Could also get a second copy of Scattered Thoughts or a first copy of Soul Cipher Board, but I really want to make sure that I can actually play this Wretched Throng, and with less than 2, it's just not going to happen. So now we have the 2 that we need, and could see taking some non-creature stuff now to go with Whispering Wizard, so Siphon Essence I think is the pick for me over the Dreadlight Monstrosity. Pretty filler, kind of big creature here versus a decent counterspell. Right, easy Selhoff and Tumor, only on color card. We still have Soul Cipher Board and Chill of the Grave. Honestly, Soul Cipher's board just takes so long to flip and toy around with the mana commitment that I'm just higher on Chill of the Grave, especially in the color pair where we have enough zombies to potentially cast this for cheap. Plus the fact that this cantrips draws you a card when you play it, it makes it a pretty good combo with Whispering Wizard because it's a pretty low cost to cast it and we immediately just draw another spell. So, wow. Alright, well this is kind of the dream draft here. We get a third on color rare opened up here. Mirror Hall Mimic. This is essentially clone, 4 mana for a copy of whatever the best creature on the battlefield is, but it's also a clone from the graveyard for 5 mana. You bring it back to the board as an enchantment that you put onto any creature, and at the beginning of your upkeep you get a copy of whatever creature you enchanted. So usually the best way to do this is to throw the enchantment on your opponent's best creature. That way, if they have a removal spell, they have to kill their own creature, or else you're just going to keep getting an infinite army of that card. Because if you do disturb it onto your own creature from the grave, and then they do use 1 removal spell before your next upkeep, then they do just kind of permanently kill that card before you get anything out of it. So there's that one thing to mention, but the fact of the matter is that this card is already just a great card, even if it didn't have the second half. If it was just the front half, the Mirror Hall Mimic, it would still be a good card. Clone is a fantastic limited card, so we don't need to work too hard for that to be pretty great. I think I'll take another Whispering Wizard here. We do have 9 non-creatures. We can build our deck around the wizards a little bit, and one of my favorite cards in the format, just a really fun build around. There's also a Lantern Bearer, which is great, and Grizzly Ritual, which is fine, but Definitely a bigger fan of the Whispering Wizard. Alright, let's pick up some more removal here, I guess. Parasitic Grasp it is. 2 mana to deal 3 to a human and gain 3 life, or 3 mana to deal 3 to any creature and gain 3 life. Definitely more often going to be cast for 3, but a great deal even at that. As much as I love the Biolume Egg, do I have enough sacrifice effects to go for it here? I think I'm going to take it anyway and then hope to wheel like the Rot-Tide Gargantua to get more sacrifice effects. But Biolume Egg is just so much fun when you can sacrifice this card. A 3 mana 0/4 you scry to, and then when you sacrifice it, you bring it back as a 4/4. It's just such a fun little combo to try to do if you can. We have Giralf, that's 1 way. Stitch Assistant, that's 2. Yeah, we only have 3 with Diver Scab, 4 ways to sacrifice things if you count Dreadfast Demon as well. So, might not be the greatest thing ever in here, but if we get more exploit, we'll be pretty happy with it. So Syncopate here to have a little bit more interaction, but we do have a Hero's Downfall and a Grizzly Ritual to kill things after they've hit the board. Parasitic Grasp as well. We have 1 counterspell already, Siphon Essence, so not super duper high on Syncopate. Kind of just like the Zombie Drake here, or just a rare draft of the Dreamroot Cascade, but I think I'll go with the Skywarp Scob Zombie Drake. And, well, here it's a really easy Syncopate, and there's nothing else. Now, wow, people really do not like Inspired Idea. I think this card's very good. I used this in a blue-green deck last time I used this, and it was just fantastic the whole time. That being said, I'm still not going to take it here just because I have Biolume Egg. I want to have tons of ways to exploit, so I'm actually just going to take Stitched Assistant over it, so I'm kind of part of the problem there, not taking the Inspired Idea, but I don't know, I think that card is just very solid. 3 mana, draw 3 cards. By the time that you use that, just wait until you've already cast your whole hand, and then use it as just 3 mana, draw 3, and then you basically never get hit by that downside of reducing your max hand size. So pretty easy Rot-Tide Gargantua here, just getting some sacrifice combos into the deck. We're definitely cutting Wedding Security. We have like no blood. Ooh, definitely will play another Doomed Dissenter, although Archghoul of Thraben also good here with zombies. 9 zombies in the deck. Yeah, we'll go with the Archghoul of Thraben over the Doomed Dissenter, but I think Doomed Dissenter would be quite good here too. But yeah, the Archghoul just giving us a good trigger whenever a zombie dies. Ooh, easy Lantern Bearer. Love that card. Easy Repository Scab. Getting some really nice pickups this late. We've got quite the deck to choose from here. Lots of options for what to cut out of here and what to keep in, which is especially nice in traditional draft since it is going to be best 2 of 3. Like, we have triple Syncopate. If our opponent just ends up playing a deck full of just nightmarish hexproof creatures or something like that, then we can just side in a bunch of counterspells. But I think I'm going to start with 0 Syncopate in the deck. But wow, do we have sideboard options. We could even keep Cradle in the sideboard, throw it in if our opponent has a bunch of removal. A lot of options like that in here that are very nice to have. And because we're best 2 out of 3, we don't have to just like main deck all of the stuff for it to get used in good positions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5 creatures at 2 or less mana. Seems pretty good to me. Maybe not using that. Probably, almost definitely not using Dreadlight Monstrosity. Undying Malice is a cute combo with sacrifice effects, but I feel that our other non-creature stuff is so high quality, I don't know what we're cutting before that. This is still 18 creatures, good lord. Quite the creature-heavy deck here so far. I guess we could just drop the kind of non-creature theme and go more to just like blue-black zombies. Cut the Whispering Wizard plan, because our deck is just so good even without trying to play around with that kind of synergy, we can just play individually powerful cards. We have like 4 bombs in here. We have Jacob Hauken, Geralf, Mirror Hall Mimic, and Dreadfast Demon. You know, this deck's kind of just insane without trying to turtle around with the wizard combos. So I could see doing that, and then we can cut down more non-creature stuff. 16 creatures. Lantern Bearer doesn't look like it makes a ton of sense in here, but it does work really well with the double like Stitched Assistant here. Just making sure we have 4 creatures that we're very happy to sacrifice by the time we play a Stitched Assistant, because all 4 of these give us some kind of value after they're dead. So I'm definitely keeping a Lantern Bearer. But just taking a look at the creatures, that is the least sensical of all the creatures in the deck, and it still makes sense for that reason. You know, I like all this stuff. All this stuff. We'll get rid of Undying Malice and Cradle of Safety. I feel like these are cards we can cut for now, and then we can like side in against opponents with a ton of removal. And we just play like the Tempo Zombies plan. Just play, you know, 3 power creatures turn 3. Turn 4, slam down a bunch of creatures. Try to get a big bomb on the board and take over the game with that. Slow down our opponent with Chill of the Grave to give us the time to dig towards our removal like Grasp, Downfall, and Ritual. Siphon Essence as well. Probably have enough instant speed stuff for the Siphon Essence to not be too hard to hold up. We have 2 Chill of the Grave, Hero's Downfall, Parasitic Grasp, and Scattered Thoughts at instant speed. So that is quite a lot. So that we're not just dead in the water if we hold up a counterspell and they don't cast something. Take one more look at the sideboard here. It feels really sad not playing around with the Whispering Wizards. But I would have to change the makeup of this deck a lot. I guess that is a big sideboard option we could do, is to just, like, maybe if our opponent has specifically like Wrath effects or something, just really lower the creature count and just change into the control shell of double Whispering Wizard, 4 counterspells of triple Syncopate, Siphon Essence, Cradle of Safety to protect them, stuff like that. There's certainly multiple ways to build this deck, and I'm kind of just going for the most basic way, just blue-black zombies, kind of the signpost strategy for this color pair. But we certainly have the cards to go for more of like what blue-red's trying to do, which is just the low creature count, high non-creature count deck, maybe like 10 creatures in here with the wizards, throwing more of the counter spells and all that in. That's certainly an option here, but I think this option looks a little more consistent to me, and otherwise still pretty much just as powerful. But there could be matchups where the other build will work better, and luckily in traditional draft, in those matchups, we can just swap on over to the Whispering Wizard build. So there it is. Let's head on into round 1. So here we are in round 1 of our 3 matches in traditional draft. And this looks like a pretty great hand to me. The only concern I have is the lack of mana, just 2 lands here, but we do have Chill of the Grave drawing us a card. And we are on the draw as well, so we should be able to get to the 3rd land decently, efficiently, and once we hit the 3rd land, we can cast most of our hand. So not super worried about the mana here. Opponent starts with turn 1 Persistent Specimen. They are also on blue-black here. They hit us for 1. Turn 2, we get our Wretched Throng out. That is not going to be particularly good against the Persistent Specimen, since it's a 2-1 against that 1-1. So a little worried about how those cards line up, but we do have the Biolume Egg coming up as a 0-4 to block their 1-1 all day long. So I'm not super worried. They have their own Biolume Egg as well, so very much the mirror match here. Two cards that work very well with Exploit on their board. The Specimen comes back for 3 mana, and the Biolume Egg replaces itself with a 4/4 when they sacrifice it. I think I just want to play my own Biolume Egg. I could see an argument for the Archghoul, but I think I would play Biolume Egg, so whenever I play the Scab, I can just immediately pop out the 4/4. Ooh, Dreadfast Demon coming up. I think I'm getting rid of Doom Dissenter, keeping the Dreadfeast Demon. Getting rid of Doom Dissenter because we're going to need a lot more mana before we can cast this Dreadfeast Demon, and it's definitely by far the strongest thing we can do in our deck. So we put that on top, but the Doom Dissenter on the bottom, just hoping for lands instead of that Dissenter. So our opponent has 4 mana up now and 4 cards in hand, double blue, double black. Not quite able to cast everything, but I'd say that's enough mana for 75% of their deck. Stitched Assistant it is, probably sacrificing the Biolume Egg to get a 4/4 out. And there it is. Now they scry 1, draw a card, and put a 4/4 into play here. Four does come in the end step, though. So there it is. Don't really want to play the Repository Scab without bringing anything back from my grave, so I kind of want to cast Chill of the Grave here. Or the Archghoul. We have played the 4th land per turn, so if we Chill the Grave and draw land, we're not really doing anything else. So the only reason to main phase Chill the Grave is if we want to draw a 2 mana or less card. I don't think that's the case. I guess we could play Gutter Skulker if we're not casting the Chill. Sacrifice 2 islands to make it unblockable is the other part of Biolume Serpent. Alright, we really don't have to worry about that. Yeah, I think I'm just going to cast the Archghoul here, because then if they attack with the 4/4, we can just double block it. Sure, we lose the Wretched Throng and the Archghoul, but then we get to Surveil twice with the Archghoul's ability, looking at the top 2 cards of our library, putting it into the grave if we don't want it, drawing it if it's a zombie, helping us dig to the lands for Dreadfeast Demon, as well as just getting that Serpent off of their board, and the 0/4 Biolume Egg is more than big enough to block anything other than their Serpent. So with the 7 mana bomb in our hand, I want to play this game out to just survive until we hit 7 mana, which is going to be setting us up for some 2-for-1s in the early game, just to get their bigger threats off the board. And that being said, it's actually not the worst deal ever, even if I wasn't like specifically just trying to make it to 7 mana here. Because Wretched Throng is going to grab another Wretched Throng from our deck. Archghoul of Thraben with 2 zombies dying could very much draw another zombie as well. So, like, we're drawing 1 card out of this interaction regardless, and we might draw 2. Alright, never mind, they're going to bleed dry the Wretched Throng. I think, again, this is still a fine deal. Sure, the Biolume Serpent's going to stick around, but we've now gotten rid of that bleed dry, and Archghoul of Thraben was a lucky hit. We draw a zombie off of it. So we traded the Archghoul of Thraben and the Wretched Throng to draw a Stitched Assistant and make them discard their bleed dry so it's not around anymore to get rid of our Dreadfeast Demon, which is pretty excellent. And Stitched Assistant was a super good draw because now we can just crack our own egg for 3 and still have the 2 mana up to Chill of the Grave. And of course we draw a card as well, helping us dig to that land for the Dreadfeast Demon. Stitched Assistant was just kind of the perfect draw here. So some massive work done by the Archghoul. I could take another Chill of the Grave. I don't want to get like too choked up on mana here, but if I draw 1 land in the next 3 draws, then I could definitely cast both Chills. I think I'm going to keep this, to be honest. because I've already played my land for turn here, so I just Chill of the Grave during their turn, so the Biolume Serpent stays tapped down. I'm drawing a card from that. When it goes to my turn, I draw a card off the top. And then, yeah, like, after that, if neither of those are lands, then I can cast another Chill of the Grave, hoping for a land, and then Repository Scab bring back a Chill of the Grave. We just have a whole Chill of the Grave party here. Just start being very annoying to our opponent. And again, as long as we hit one more land, then we'll have enough mana to just cycle the Chill of the Grave anyway. So by putting it in hand, we get its effect and draw the next card. By putting it on bottom, we just draw the next card. We don't get its effect in that position. Awesome, so we drew the land, which means we get to cast this next Chill of the Grave and just pretend we put it on the bottom and just held all that mana up. So I think, again, not actually super high on Repository Scab. These creatures aren't that expendable. So I think I'm just going to cast a Gutter Skulker and Chill of the Grave again here. I guess we could attack with Biolume Serpent, but how do they kill it? They double block with Stitched Assistant and Specimen. It's not super good for us. Yeah, I don't love that. I'm just going to play Gutter Skulker. Hold up Chill of the Grave again. I guess we could chill the assistant and then attack. But too late now. I guess if I went full control mode, I could chill during the declare attacker step after I attacked with this, but before they could block. I think in the grand scheme of things that'd be better, because I'm definitely casting this Chill of the Grave. Even if I'm doing this during their end step here, I'm still just going to cycle it here while I have the mana. So ideally we should have done that during our turn so we can get an attack in with the Serpent. Either make them dump some mana into the Specimen's ability this turn, or just hit them for 4 there. So definitely missed out on some potential damage there. Another Biolume Egg from our opponent. Scry 2 when it comes in. 1 top, 1 bottom. They have enough mana to syncopate here, which I don't love. They also have enough mana to do the 3 mana counterspell. Actually pretty scared for our Dreadfeast Demon here. Could even see holding on to it and just making sure they're fully tapped out. But I mean, like, if it gets countered, we're sad, but we're still kind of in the winning position here, right? Like, we have a Gutter Skulker that can just keep hitting them after their stuff on taps. Or even just right now, we can start attacking with it. And then, like, we have a Grizzly Ritual for their bomb and a Repository Scab to bring it back if we need to do it again. Yeah, I think we're actually just in the driver's seat here, even if Dreadfeast Demon gets countered. Well, let's find out. If it doesn't, we just kind of win on the spot. Green. Oh, they're just getting the Omen counter from the statue. I was going to say, maybe it's like a plummet or something. The green managed to destroy the flyer. That would be pretty massive here for our opponent. Alright. Yep, there's the concession. That's kind of just what Dreadfeast Demon will do. So they didn't have the counterspell, so Demon did its thing. So we know our opponent has Bleed Dry. We know they're playing an exploit deck like we are. The only thing that really comes to mind would be our Cradle. Main thing, just Cradle of Safety against blue-black here. Just with the efficient removal like Bleed Dry, having Cradle of Safety to counter it is nice. That's pretty... Excuse me, I almost started just hacking. Just coughing all over. Yeah, with efficient removal from our opponent, Cradle of Safety is going to be nice here. But that's pretty much it for the sideboard. It looks like for this matchup. So what is not good against them? Parasitic Grasp didn't look great. I mean, most of their creatures were small, so this can kill like a 3/2 or something, which is fine. But their important creatures were like the 4/4s from the Biolume Egg. Grasp does not do anything to that. Didn't play anything we needed to Siphon Essence because they didn't cast any creatures that cost more than like 3 or 4 mana. So like they weren't casting creatures by the time we would have been holding a Siphon Essence up, but we could have just like not seen their Dreadfeast Demon of their own. Repository Scab was actually just not great there also because it was just kind of we just didn't have anything we wanted to return by the time we hit the 4 mana. That card, not like specific to the matchup or anything, it just didn't work particularly well on its lonesome. Yeah, I could see cutting one of these too. I think we'll go with the Siphon Essence. If we get absolutely bombed out, we'll throw it back in. We'll see. But we know that they're a color pair with good removal, and we know that they have at least one good removal spell of the Bleed Dry. So I think it's just far more likely Bleed Dry helps us than... Or Bleed Dry, Cradle of Safety helps us than the counterspell does. Am I getting rid of Dreadfeast Demon here? Probably not. Maybe get rid of Stitch Assistant. Just have Jacob Hauken start drawing, discarding every turn, digging for lands. Chill of the Grave draws another card. Maybe we get rid of Chill. I don't know, Chill like slows our opponent down and draws us a card, which is what we're looking for here. We're just trying to, again, make it to 7 mana. Very slow hand, especially if I get rid of another cheap creature here. There's no way I get rid of a land, though. This is a risky one here. We'll see how it pans out for us. We are on the draw, which is helpful. For making it to that 7 mana in terms of cards drawn. So opponent goes turn 1 Persistent Specimen again. Going to be hitting us for 1 for a turn here, but then we're going to have a 0/2 out to block that. Ooh, Skull Scab. Well, this is going to be a bad time for us. This is the aggressive start. 2 2/2s on turn 2 thanks to Skull Scab exploiting the Persistent Specimen. A 0/2 is not big enough to block any of those profitably at all. At least we draw another Chill of the Grave, which is nice. But no, this is opponent on the play with 4 power out on turn 2. Alright, no turn 3 play is actually very nice. I guess they just bring the skeleton back, get 1 more power out, but we can block the skeleton all day long. Chill of the Grave is actually just better than playing a Lantern Bearer here. All that Lantern Bearer does is trades with the skeleton, they bring the skeleton right back. So we'll just do the Chill of the Grave here. 4 mana now from our opponent. Slow down their aggression here, tapping something down. Taking 2 damage now, going down to 13. Just passing the turn here, just holding up Bleed Dry, I guess. Draw, discard. With 4 mana, we can Chill the Grave and Lantern Bearer, so I think I'm getting rid of 1 land here. No way do I get rid of Dreadfeast Demon, because then they blow up Jacob, and Dreadfeast Demon's just gone forever. Now that I have Cradle of Safety in hand, I might actually discard Dreadfeast Demon to Jacob. because when we flip Jacob on the back side of the card, it's once per turn we get to cast something underneath it, once during our turn, for free. So then on turn 6, we just get to flip it and immediately cast Dreadfeast Demon. As long as we have a Cradle of Safety up. Like, our Dreadfeast Demon is somewhat secure underneath Jacob Hauken, and getting it down a turn earlier is going to be massive here. Every turn matters when our opponent is on the aggressive. Luckily for us, they really didn't have the follow-through with the turn 2 Skull Scab. Like, that was super lucky for us. If they had turn 2 Skull Scab and then they had, like, I forgot to Chill of the Grave here, and then they had just a 3 mana 3 power creature, 4 mana 4 power creature, we would be in just a massive world of hate or hurt beyond all imagination. Ooh, Rot-Tide Gargantua. So there goes Lantern Bearer then. And Skull Scab goes off. Very not good. Very, very not good. So now we're going to Chill the Grave, the Rot-Tide Gargantua, and hold up Cradle of Safety, and then turn 6, flip Jacob, cast Dreadfeast Demon. But it might not be enough. Actually does pan out well that I held on to Chill of the Grave, that I misplayed there, because now we're stopping more damage by shutting down the 5/4. Arch Ghoul. 3, 4, 5. We do need to hit one more land to be at the 6 mana we need to flip Jacob. I think we're getting rid of the Dreadfeast Demon here. Is it exiled face up? It's exiled face down, so they don't know that we're putting Dreadfeast Demon underneath. That being said, I think if they had removal, they probably would have already popped Jacob, so... Dreadfeast Demon is probably safe underneath Jacob. Even without the Cradle, to the point where do we still cast Chill of the Grave to slow down the Rot-Tide Gargantua here? If they just like straight go to combat here, do we Chill of the Grave Gargantua or do we just still hold on to Cradle of Safety? I'm hoping if they have removal, they just get greedy and just main phase it. That's not necessarily getting greedy, though, because it does get a blocker out of the way, which is important. So it could very well just be the right play to attempt the removal immediately. Okay, so they go to combat not attempting removal. They did IR cards a lot here, so I'm assuming they have Cradle. Or not Cradle, but removal. Which would mean that we need Cradle. But the problem is if we don't Chill of the Grave here, if we just hold up a Cradle, like we're trading an Archghoul into a 2 power and we're taking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we're going to 2 life. We cannot come back at 2 life, even if we get a Dreadfeast Demon onto the board. Alright. Undying Malice on the Skull Scab, so it will come right back. Not ideal. What does the Archghoul see on the top here? Stitched Assistant? Alright, well we draw it. Jacob does need to hit a land here. In the next 2 draws, one of them needs to be a land. Oh, I think they exploited a zombie token there, but it only makes it 2/2 when they exploit a non-token. Alright, another Gargantua, that's just game then. Because that kills Jacob. Yeah, we couldn't even Cradle of Safety around that one. Alright, so the biggest issue there was by far the Skull Scab from our opponent. So if we had more cheap removal, like if we had a Gift of Fangs of our own or something, we'd absolutely slam that in here. But based on what we do have here, we're definitely leaving in Parasitic Grasp. I think we just need to mulligan a little more aggressively and go for a quicker game. Just too far on the back foot there. Siphon Essence on a Gargantua doesn't seem awful. We could throw that back in. Yeah, I still feel like the Repository Scab is not looking mega good. Alright. Alright, and here we are in game 3, absolutely going on the play first here. This is not a keepable hand, though. This is far better. Just get rid of the 5-drop here, I think. Actually, probably get rid of Cradle. We have nothing we really want to protect with the Cradle anyway. In this hand. Turn 1 Lantern Bearer. Go with our turn 2 Wretched Throng, that is a zombie, so we can cast Chill of the Grave now, but ideally we hit a 3rd land here. Sending in with the Lantern Bearer for 1. And in the Think Tank on turn 2 here. Skull Scab it is. Turn 2 Skull Scab is coming back with a vengeance. And try to ruin our day here. Well, we have a Wretched Throng at least to hold back and trade off with the Scab if they send it in. We can Chill the Grave the zombie token. Hope to get the 3rd land off of that to just start slamming these cards down. I am going to Chill the Grave during their turn, because even if I hit a land drop every turn, I'm still probably going 3-drop, 3-drop, 3-drop. So it's okay if I skip 1 land drop there to stop a couple more damage, I think. They could throw the Lantern's Lift onto the Skull Scab, in which case I'll just chill that instead. And trade with the zombie token. Foreboding Statue. Alright, so they choose no Lantern's Lift here. Go ahead and tap down the zombie token. There is the 3rd land. We get to play a creature big enough to block their stuff and survive, or play something that just trades off and also draws us cards. I think I'd rather go Arch Ghoul first here. Yeah, this game's looking a lot better for us, because, like, now we just have several early game creatures. They're just not going to crack through early game. Even if they throw Lantern's Lift onto something for flying, when we cast Giralf, all our zombies will have flying. Definitely looks like we've got some good lines for survival for a while. Foreboding Statue is a pretty fun card, used in a blue-green deck to really good effect. This is a very rampy deck. Lantern's Lift on the Skull Scab it is. Time for Giralf in the Sky to shut that down. Biolume Egg is the draw. If they don't kill Giralf, we just play Egg and crack it immediately. live the actual dream. Yep, seems good to me. Down to 16 here. I don't think we're on the offensive. I think we're just holding back for blocks. But that'll change really quickly if Giralf doesn't immediately get killed here. If Giralf survives the turn and we get to crack the egg into it, that's when we just start beating face. See what's going on from our opponent here. I'd expect if it was bleed dry, they just pop it off real quick, kill Giralf, and hit us for 3 in the sky with Skull Scab. So Giralf may be staying a turn, and that's kind of all the work Giralf needs to do. Just stick around one more turn here so we can get the Biolume Egg combo off. Alright, Stitched Assistant, sacrifice a card, scry 1, draw a card. Dig a little for some removal here. Sacrifice the zombie token. Pretty happy with that because that means we are actually taking some power off their board. They sack the statue, they would get another 2/2, but they would lose out on a mana source that way. Alright. I believe it's time for Giralf combos. Alright, Biolume Egg, scry 2, don't want Doom to Center, do kind of want Grizzly Ritual, even though we're 1 mana off from it. Yeah, I'll keep it. Go for it with the egg. Now I'm going to have a 4/4 flyer out so I can attack with the 3/2 flyer to get in for some damage and still have blockers. Next turn, I kind of like Stitched Assistant sacrificing Wretched Throng. And then we get another 3/2 flyer out. Unless they kill Giralf, there is the Bleed Dry. Hopefully too little too late for our opponent here, because we have quite the board state thanks to that. So now that we don't have flying, are we still just on Stitched Assistant Wretched Throng? I think we are. Yeah, we really need to hit the land for Grizzly Ritual here to get rid of their Thresher. I think this is the order I want. Pull Wretched Throng out first so we don't draw it to these other 2 abilities. And then Surveil, and then Scry Draw. Ooh. Parasitic Grasp. Do I want to draw Parasitic Grasp, or do I want to land? I need another mana to even cast that Parasitic Grasp, so I actually think I'm putting this in the graveyard. I mean, we kill Skull Scab and gain 3 life. Thresher doesn't actually matter on attacks. It only matters that it blocks well against us. Yeah, no, we gotta keep this then, right? Because we're getting rid of their flying card and gaining life. Yeah, no, we're keeping Parasitic Grasp. Get rid of their evasive threat, and then we're not under any pressure anymore. so we can take all the time we need to hit our Grizzly Ritual mana. Because it's not like Forsaken Thresher gets to attack in at all against this board state. Alright, so we're down to 10 now. Five mana for our opponent. They just passed the turn. There's the 6 mana for Grizzly Ritual. 10 life I think is healthy enough to just go for the Thresher first, and it's actually more important for this Skull Scab to die than the Thresher. So I'll counter the spell that I am less concerned about resolving first. It's definitely more important for Parasitic Grasp to resolve. So sure, they can have their Cradle of Safety all day long. Because that means we get to kill Skull Scab next turn. I think I'm still killing the Skull Scab over the Cruel Witness because if they exploit any more cards, they get more 2/2 zombies. And I'm more concerned with that than with them surveilling. If they have Undying Malice here, this is also better, because if they Undying Malice, they just get a 3/3 on the ground, but if they Undying Malice the Cruel Witness, they get a 4/4 in the sky. Yeah, sure, that's super fine. And we have all the mana that we need for a Dreadfast Demon now. So we are on a 3-turn clock after this hit, down to 7 life against the 3-power flyer. Lantern Bearer. That slows down the clock significantly. We get one chump block with it, and then we throw it onto something big enough to block Cruel Witness without dying. I kind of like Rot-Tide Gargantua, sacrifice Wretched Throng, even though we don't have another Throng in the deck. It's just the smallest creature we have on board, because I don't really want to sacrifice Lantern Bearer. I'd rather get the chump block out of it, gain another 3 life that way. I have another Undying Malice in hand here for 1 black. They could just be holding for full control mode as well, or anything like that. Any stops during our turn. I am gonna fall asleep at this rate. Alright, well, I'm not going to exploit then, because then they'll just have a bigger flyer. So what are we looking for here? We've got 1 Chill of the Grave, which would be massive. Hero's Downfall. Mirror Hall Mimic. Diver Scab, Dreadfeast Demon. Some pretty big outs to try to hit here. Chill of the Grave does draw us towards 1. And taps down the 6/6 so we can start attacking with the 4/4s. There's Diver Scab to use on the 6/6 as well. Yeah, and that just like permanently deals with it. I think we're attacking with these. Yeah, now we just start getting in there. Persistent Specimen is an issue. Alright, some pretty fair trades here I'm pretty happy with. Just whittle down their board a bit. Trigger the Art School. I suppose we could Diver Scab, throw the Cruel Witness on top, make them skip their next draw step. But then they just recast it, it doesn't really actually deal with it. But Diver Scabbing the Thresher does deal with it. It's going to take a really long time for that to be a 5/5 again. It does look awkward because we did draw into the Diver Scab off of the card that tapped it down anyway, but it is going to untap eventually, and this deals with it for quite some time. Plus we get another Arch Ghoul trigger here. I think we want to trigger Wretched Throng first so that we shuffle before we Surveil, because if we Surveil and we choose to keep the card on top of our library, we don't want to just shuffle it away with Wretched Throng. I guess it's a May ability, so it doesn't matter, because we could just choose not to shuffle. It's either way. I'll just shuffle for fun. Alright, now we'll Surveil, throw that into the grave. Rot-Tide Gargantua, sack the Specimen. They kill a 3-2 here. It's pretty fine by me. Oh, but they do have the Scab to just replace it with a 2-2. Not so fine, but I'll still take it. Get our card draw here. Yep, just a full card draw because we're just dumping those lands into the grave. Digging closer to stuff we actually need here. Hero's Downfall, that is what I would classify as stuff we actually need. Downfall, Cruel Witness, and then we're off to the races? Definitely a downfall while they're tapped out here. Do I just start hitting them for one a turn with the Lantern Bearer? Or, like, what do I need to be able to block with? 5-4 I block with the 4-4, 3-3 I block with the 3-2. I guess I do want to hold all these back. But then we're kind of in a top deck war here. 2, 3. Just trying to see if statistically a top deck war is good for me. They have 8 lands so far. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 lands so far, so I'm a little less likely to hit land. Like, what's the alternative to a top deck war here? We attack in with the 4-4, then how are we blocking? We're at 7 life here. Like, we could block that there, but then we can't block Gargantua well. If we want to block Gargantua well, we double block these onto that. In which case I take 5 and go to 2. Yeah, it feels like I just can't put any shields down here. I guess holding Lantern Bearer back as a blocker does threaten to make a 5-5 flyer, so that's pretty big. Oh my god, Gutter Skulker is huge. Gutter Skulker is fantastic. That just starts chipping in for 3 a turn instead of 1 a turn. And now I get to hold Lantern Bearer as a blocker as well. To be very safe. Nope, they have Siphon Essence, but that means I just get to throw Gutter Skulker's ability onto my Arch Ghoul instead. Just another 3-power creature. Diregraph Scavenger, never mind. Seems like a pretty good follow-up to the Siphon Essence here. Also drains me down to 5. And it's a Death Toucher, so it definitely trades when it attacks in. Jacob Hauken. 14 cards in library. It's going to be pretty risky to try to flip this. I'll be entirely honest. How do our blocks look? Block, 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 take 2. I think we're good. I think we're good to attack in here. Biolume Egg scries 2, which is not a good time for us. Sets up those draws. I mean, when we think about what's left in our deck to hit off of Hauken's Insight, we actually probably should still flip this to try to close this game out. Because we have 14 cards. We'll have 13 cards. That's 6 more turns. Even drawing 2 a turn. Stitched Assistant to crack Lantern Bearer is actually really big here. Start attacking for 5 in the sky. Excellent draw. Actually, I do have to consider how well I'm blocking without this 4/4. It's definitely worse. I actually think maybe I put it on the Arch Ghoul, because then I still have the 3/2 to trade to the 2/3, 4/4 for the 5/4, 3/5 on the 3/3. Grand scheme of things, we are blocking pretty well without the Arch Ghoul. This does put them on the 3-turn clock. Alright, well, Cruel Witness definitely makes having a 4/3 flyer a little sad, because we'll trade into that. But I think now we just let Jacob Hauken start going off. We know they don't have removal in hand, they have 0 cards in hand, so we draw, discard any non-land, well, it's all lands anyway, and then just flip Hauken next turn to cast something for free. Ooh, Scattered Thoughts. Some more land. Alright, so we're not casting anything for free off of Hauken. And I don't think we're flipping him then, if we have Scattered Thoughts in hand and we're not going to cast anything off Hauken. I'm just going to spend all our mana into this, because I really want to play more creatures. These are also not more creatures. Dang, we have 5 cards left now. The 5 cards left are Dreadfast Demon, Mirror Hall Mimic, Doom Dissenter, and 2 lands. So Dreadfast Demon and Mirror Hall Mimic are both in there, and they're both kind of just like insta-wins. We can't afford to attack in now, because then they crack back for pretty much lethal. They actually attack back for like 3 now, because we did not hit a creature in those 6 cards deep, I think. We drew 2 off of Jacob and 4 off of Scattered Thoughts. We didn't technically draw them all, but we looked at them all, looking for creatures. Yeah, now that we've used Hauken twice plus Scattered Thoughts, now we're definitely not flipping the Jacob Hauken. Actually, I feel like it's more important to have Cradle of Safety up to beat their Cruel Witness than it is to counter this, since it's a ground creature. We're gonna go deep. We have 5 cards left in the library. Let's still throw this in the grave. Get out of here, Doom Dissenter. Get out of here, land. 2 cards left. One of the 2 is our Dreadfast Demon. Alright. So we need to kill them in 2 turns. And they have a 4/3 lifelinker now. We make a copy of Diver Scab. Throw Depraved Harvester back. I believe that is the play. Can attack for 5. How do they crack back? We have 2 blockers. Block, block, take 1. Yep, kill them in 2 turns. We have Siphon Essence, so unless they hit exactly a removal spell, we're good. Alright, and there is the concession with 2 cards in library, digging desperately for the Dreadfeast Demon and not finding it. But we found the Mirror Hall Mimic, which is good enough there to end things. We just have so many bombs in the deck. We'll find something eventually. That was a wild matchup. I was pretty sure we were going to lose there. Our opponent's deck definitely the more synergistic deck. They had a lot of the good common and uncommon exploit combos and stuff, but kind of the name of the game in this format is dropping ridiculous bombs, and we were lucky enough to have the deck with more of the ridiculous bombs there. Well, this is a little bit sketchy, but turn 1 play, turn 2 play, and then cross our fingers. We've got a Lantern Bearer and a Dream here. We'll see where we go from there. Actually, Siphon Essence is really good in this hand because I have nothing else to do with my mana anyway, so I can just always hold this up and counter the first good thing they do. Toxic Scorpion. Alright, that's fine. Certainly not great against our 1/1s. So not super unhappy to see that. Ooh, blue, green, red. Already a fan of our opponent's deck. I love 3-4 color splashiness. If they've committed here. Here comes that 1 damage. Spore Crawler. So I understand this looks a little weird because it's like, well, now I just don't have my counterspell up for when they play a bomb. But if we don't just slam that counterspell down there, then we have no guarantee we're doing anything for the next like 100 turns. But if we do slam the counterspell down there, we're at least preventing their early game damage and getting another card draw out of this, like we filter a Swamp away. That being said, we kind of drew the perfect follow-up. Now we just scab, sack the center, get a 2/2 and pick the counterspell back up. So this makes us look like a genius, but that part was unintentional. So now our opponent knows they have 1 turn where we have the shields down to play their bomb. So if it's a 4-mana bomb, they get us here. But if not, just keep holding on to that Siphon Essence, and luckily for us, it is not the bomb here. It's just a Binding Geist, which does trade into the Scab, so it is still not a good time for us, but we can send in the Zombie and the Bearer. I think I'm cool with these 2. Could Chill of the Grave on the aggressive just to tap down Geist and send in all 3, but then we're trading into the Death Toucher. I think I just want to hold on to Chill of the Grave, because the other part of using Chill of the Grave is it uses my 1 blue mana and I don't get to hold up Siphon Essence anymore. Let's see what we hit off the blood. Ooh, Hero's Downfall. Big fan of that. We have very, very little blood token production in this deck, so I'm just going to run out this land rather than holding it now that we're out of blood. I think the counterspell might be the literal only blood token. No, there's Grizzly Ritual as well, but that's it. The counterspell and the Grizzly Ritual. Spectral Binding. Shut off our flyer? Alright. Our flyer is essentially defeated, so we will definitely just exploit that away as soon as we draw an exploit card. So we're in the end step here, so I can just shields down, cast Chill of the Grave, because they're not going to have a flash creature, most likely. And we immediately drew the Stitched Assistant to sacrifice the Lantern Bearer, so that feels pretty good. Rescue our Lantern Bearer from the spectral bindings that it lies within. And still hold up our Siphon Essence and draw a card. New Biolume Egg is fun. They have 6 mana now. We have 6 power on the board and they're at 11 life. Foreboding Statues to play, that'll resolve. I'll just counter whatever they cast off of it or kill whatever they cast off of it. I could downfall it here so I know I hit for 6, but if they want to chump block with a statue, then by all means, I will let them go ahead and do so. Alright, get another 3 power on this board now that they're down to 5. That seems pretty important to me. And we're still holding up that Siphon Essence. They do know about it, but even if they know about it, it's not like they get to cast a Brambleworm just because they know we have Siphon Essence. If they have Brambleworm in hand, they just can't cast it here. Past turn at 5 life here. Now do we crack the hero's downfall? I don't think so, because we can only whittle down their board to 2 creatures, in which case they don't die, even if we slap Lantern Bearer onto something. We just put them to 1 life. Like, we kill their Lantern Bearer and then give one of our creatures flying at 4 power. They chump block the other 2. They already kind of have to chump block everything anyway, so I feel like I just hold on to all this. And then just slam on in with everybody. So pretty much just forced into chumps across the board. They can let 1 creature through, but that's it. And I guess the Toxic Scorpion is a trade, not a chump block. But the rest are certainly chumps. Unless they go for a double block here. Then they kill 2 of my creatures, but I kill all 3 of theirs. So they're going to go for the kill on the Archghoul, take 3 down to 2. Lose the Lantern Bearer. Seems good to me. Wolf Strike with the Toxic Scorpion, we can kind of just save all our creatures now by Heroes Downfalling, which is massive. So I am going to do that. Yep, and there's the concession. Alright. So pretty happy with this matchup overall, just kind of like red-green dorks. Little blue splash there. Not sure what the splash is for. We did see a Binding Geist, but I doubt they're splashing just for Binding Geist. So in this matchup, definitely a big fan of our Heroes Downfall Grizzly Ritual stuff. I could see running more counterspells just because they're likely to have some big late game plays as their main plan, but I really like the removal that we already have at our disposal, plus cards like Rot-Tide Gargantua. I just feel pretty good in this matchup, and I don't think I need to really change much of anything here, if anything. Yeah, I think I'll just run it back. Alright. Turn 2 Jacob Hauken is awesome with a Parasitic Grasp. Has some cheap interaction. Probably grasp the Steelclad Spirit if they start playing enchantments. I don't think there's going to be a need to grasp it just to attack in with stuff here. So I suppose this is blue-green with the red splash? Maybe? think the only thing I saw a lot of game 1 was the green. Oh no, we drew both Wretched Throngs. That's super sad. Alright, we're just going to kill their Mana Dork here. Keep them off of casting massive stuff on us early on here. So now at least we can start exiling Wretched Throngs to Jacob Hauken. Because there are cards that would be like a minor impact if we're casting them for free later, but they're not cards that we're worried about missing out on right now. But I suppose if we don't hit anything that costs more than 4, we can just get rid of lands in our hands for now, but in the future, probably exiling some Wretched Throngs. Geistlight Snare, alright, counter our Gutter Skulker. I'm fine with this. I think we're in a good position to win the long game if they don't have removal for Jacob. Jacob can turn into Hauken's Insight and just go wild. So I'm going to keep the mana to make it to 6 mana here. Play a Diver Scab just as a 3/5. Doesn't seem awful to me. We don't have anything we want to exploit here. If I try to Gutter Skulker, they can exile it with the Honored Heirloom, which is pretty annoying. Yeah, I think I just slammed down a 3/5. That can start attacking into their 3/3. Scattered Thoughts from our opponent. Look at the top 4 cards of the library and pick the best 2. I would expect to dig in for some removal for Hauken. It is their final chance to get Hauken out of here before we have Hauken's Insight, where we're just casting the top card of our library for free every turn. I really want to play around with this in Commander. This seems like a fun card for that kind of format. Ooh, Wandering Mind off the red splash, I believe. Look at the top 6, grab a non-creature put into hand. Unfortunately for our opponent, they did miss on the Wandering Mind trigger, so just a 3 mana 2/1 flyer. Still not the worst deal ever, but that card is super nice when you do get to draw the card off of it. Yeah, I'm not going to need the 7th mana if I have a flipped Hauken, probably, so we'll exile the land here. And here we go. Flip Hauken. Cast Gargantua for free. Yeah, let's go. All right. Hauken's Insight time. Could double block to kill Diver Scab and then we kill their flyer. I guess they can throw Flying onto Steelclad Spirit and that'll be annoying. Yeah, no, we can just hold back the Diver Scab for now. It does feel like a downgrade to trade it down into the 2/1 flyer. Or the 3/3 on the ground. Toxic Scorpion. So now we are definitely not attacking in well. Definitely trading down into something pretty weak. Ooh, hit a Siphon Essence? That's actually awful. I don't know why I got excited about hitting the counter spell that we can only cast during our turn. I don't know. Probably playing Wretched Throng then. Although a mana might not be the worst. Don't really see a need to Grizzly Ritual here. Again, our Repository Scab or Gutter Skulker does nothing because of their Honored Heirloom. I guess we could ritual to kill their scorpion. That's really kind of whatever. Yeah, I mean, we can Wretched Throng and Scattered Thoughts. Scattered Thoughts during their end step, I suppose. Now that they attacked with that, we could send in the Scab, and if that trades into the Scorpion, we're fine. The Gargantua trades, I think we're a little less happy, but also still fine. Yeah, we'll just attack in and start clearing down their board a little bit. With Hauken's Insight, like we can downgrade our cards into smaller stuff. We're drawing 2 a turn, and we'll definitely have the mana to cast it all. Because we're casting things for free from Hauken's Insight, or just getting a land from it. Alright, so here goes the Honored Heirloom, getting rid of that Gutter Skulker from the grave. My apologies that I am so yawny lately. Just a tired boy over here. Hook Hand Mariner, that resolves. Our counterspell is only castable during our turn. And watch, we'll just really get them when they try to flash in a creature. Are they going to syncopate a Scattered Thoughts? That would not be bad. Drawing the best 2 cards out of top 4. No, just another Geistlight Snare. Alright, fair enough. Double Chill of the Grave now to start drawing some cards and tap down the blockers. That seems pretty annoying. We'll go for it here. Hitting for 7 now. Probably just casting Repository Scab as a 3/3. Would we rather have a 3/3 and a 2/1, or a 3/3 and a Parasitic Grasp? 3/3 and Parasitic Grasp, right? Yeah, we'll sack the 2/1 here to get Grasp back. This is our only opportunity to do so, since the Honored Heirloom doesn't have the mana to bring it right back. Or to stop me from bringing it right back, I should say. So they're at 10 life. 2 of their blockers will still be tapped down. We can Parasitic Grasp the Wandering Mind. Grisly Ritual another blocker, if they play another one. Won't be lethal, we only have 8 damage on the board, but we can get a great attack in next turn and probably find lethal the turn after. Hauken's Insight hits a free Stitched Assistant to follow up the Biolume Egg with. Seems fantastic. Go for the Parasitic Grasp first to get this Wandering Mind out of the way and then send our attacks in. I guess I don't have the mana to do all 3 of these because the Grasp does cost 3 against non-humans. Oh wait, yeah I do. Stitched Assistant is free. What am I on about? Hauken's Insight is absurd. Stitched Assistant is absolutely free. Counter the Biolume Egg. Alright, sure. Just gonna cast Stitched Assistant and not sacrifice a creature, because if one creature gets in for 2 damage, we win. So it is pretty important to just keep a 2/1 out at this point, because that 2/1 could be the difference between cracking through or not if they draw a 3rd creature. Like I sack the 2/1, they draw a 3rd creature, all of a sudden they block all 3 of my things that send in. Now if they top deck a 3rd creature or a removal spell, we still win on the spot. Alright, Lantern of the Lost. That means they have 1 more draw. The Lantern will draw them another card here. I guess with the Grisly Ritual in hand, it would have to be a removal spell and a creature all in one. One of those creatures that comes into play and kills something when it does. But still, we're in a position where we want to be as wide as possible. And there's the concession from our opponent, so that is a victory for the first 2 rounds, meaning we get some decent prize support out of this event no matter what happens, and we are in the running for the very good prize. If we can win the 3rd round as well, we will get those 3,000 gems into our collection. So 2 rounds in, 2 wins, getting at least 1,000 gems and 4 more packs. Feels like a great place to be as we head into round 3. Alright, here we are in the final round of this traditional draft with a very interactive hand. We're not really committing anything to the board, but both colors, some very castable cards. I'm pretty happy with it. We are going to need a 2nd black for downfall, but we can still Siphon Essence and Scattered Thoughts here. This is not what we want to see here, Concealing Curtains from our opponent. I'm probably going to kill that before they have the mana to flip it. If they don't, just sack it to Skull Scab. Alright, I would have been pretty excited if they sacked that to Skull Scab, but if on turn 3 here they just dump mana into Revealing Eye, they're going to be attacking with a 3/4 menace, making us discard our best card in hand. Seems like a very bad time to me, so I'm just going to kill that before that can flip. I actually don't know, if they spend the 3 mana, does that ability go on the stack to where I can kill it before it resolves? I'm going to do it for science here. I feel like it does. I feel like they can dump their mana into it and then I can respond by killing that thing before they can force me to discard a card. But they might get the discard off of it if they just dump the mana in. Yeah, I can kill it before it flips. Okay, good. So now they've just dumped the mana in, they get nothing out of it. So that was much better than just main phasing. Just what I was considering there. So we can play a 3/2 to block their 2/2. I feel like Scattered Thoughts is probably better here. We just go to 16. We also get to hold up Siphon Essence this way if they have some 4 or less mana bomb. Not quite a bomb, but good enough for me. Good enough for me. We've seen how good those flyers can be against us. Just dying to little 3/3 flyers in the game that we did lose earlier. Or I think that might have been one of the games we didn't lose, but we took so much damage from the 3/3 flyers it was getting really sketchy. Ooh, Rot-Tide Gargantua. Just slam down a 5/4 now. They can't attack in anymore. Seems good to me. Could even sack this and just have the board states clear to stop Skull Scab from like going off with their other exploit cards. But I'm just gonna let it do its thing. Alright, Rot-Tide Gargantua of their own to trade their Skull Scab into our 5/4. Sad time. I'm going to play the Arch School. I'm happier with the Arch School trading with their 2/2 than I am the Stitched Assistant doing so, because the Arch School gives us that death trigger. I do want a 6th land to flip Jacob Hauken, so I think I'm going to keep this. Next turn we're going to draw a 6th land. We can activate Jacob and flip them immediately, and then just cast whatever we exiled, so that way we're still casting Stitched Assistant or Scattered Thoughts. Like, it's a 3 mana and 4 mana card, so we can only cast one of these 2 either way. This way we're casting one of the 2 and setting up Hawken's Insight to potentially save us from this next turn if we're lucky. If we're unlucky, we could still just die here to a lethal attack, but if we get another turn, Hawken's Insight could potentially get us out of here. Ooh, now we can Chill the Grave instead? Actually, probably better than either of these 2. Yeah, and we shut down the Gargantua, I suppose? We can only cast this during our turn, which means we're only stopping something from attacking us for 1 turn. And so we stop the Gargantua, because then if they want to get just as much damage out, they have to sack the blood token. Diver Scab's a nice draw, 3/5. Alright, do sacrifice the blood token. And a Binding Geist coming out. This It's not great. Skullscab has been a destructive force against us today. Just coming in with early game aggression. So we can block most of this if they don't have removal by going Egg, Assistant, Lantern Bearer. And then we scry, so if we survive another turn, we set up whatever we're going to hit off of Hauken's Insight, which I guess would be Gutter Skulker here for another blocker. That's probably better than a random card. Take the Gutter Skulker for next turn. Oh, we're just going to draw a card off Stitch Assistant anyway. What am I on about? Yep, that's true. So I guess we're just drawing Gutter Skulker. We'll just find out. We didn't really have an option to choose to draw after we scry the 2 because we have to play Assistant after the Egg, obviously, to get the 4/4 back from the Egg. All right. Scattered Thoughts from our opponent. They do mill a Binding Geist, which means that they have the 2 mana for the Spectral Binding. Shut down some power on our board. And send in the squad. Yeah, if I kill Lantern Bearer, they make another one of their creatures big enough to just kill me on the spot, pretty much. I can't afford not to block their Gargantua without dying. I can't kill the Gargantua. So what, I get to kill Binding Geist here, and then jump block Gargantua, and that's like the best I have here? This is absolutely awful. Our opponent just came out with too much of the early aggression here to really deal with. I guess we can kill the Menace creature here, take 4, go to 2. And we still have a Biolume Serpent out. Not super likely to win, but I think we take the other trade and we're just massively unfavored to win. If they just have a 3/3 and a 5/4 still out, 3/3 Menace and a 5/4, with these 2 as spells from their grave. We have to just hit Magical Christmas Land off Hauken's Insight. I mean, I guess we're at a higher life total that way, aren't we? But then we have no creatures left. Yeah, no, it's a rock and a hard place. These are not good blocks to have access to here. Alright, I think that's just it if it's just 2 lands on top. The Menace is gone now. So if we have 3 creatures out, I mean even just 2 creatures out, we block these 2, just to deal with Lantern Bearer. Do you have the mana to play Gutter Skulker and give flying to somebody here, I guess? So we theoretically survive with 1 life. But I doubt it, since they did just draw 2 cards out of the top 4 with the Scattered Thoughts. Yep. Well, that was pretty disastrous. Just our start was pretty slow and interactive, and we certainly got punished for it there. Again, I don't see super obvious deck adjustments.
We could put in a couple entombers to have more early game creatures to be blocking with, but the problem is those are 1/3s anyway, which wouldn't really have helped us in that game. We still just get shredded because they don't block profitably. They just kind of chump block against our opponent's deck. They do block the 2/2s well, so that is something. Yeah, maybe some entombers here. Cradle might not be bad against this color pair. Just cut down a little bit on the more expensive stuff and the non-creature stuff. So cut like one assistant, one non-creature spell here. I guess we need to cut 3 cards. I still do really like assistant. Especially against all of their enchantment-based removal because of those spectral geists. Yeah, no, I'm actually just going to go back. Just run it back. I cannot imagine our opponent on the play with a super aggressive hand like that. Because even on the draw, they were beating some face. The 1-drop curtains into the 2-drop scab. Some horrifying beginnings to that game. And the train did not stop from there. This skull scab is really our absolute enemy today. I still feel like it's not to the point where I should just Hero's Downfall it immediately. Because we know they're going to have the 3/3 menace that attacks as a 5/5 menace and stuff like that later. I mean, I guess we just Wretched Throng and hope that holds down the fort here. Mind Leech Ghoul. They get the free sacrifice because of Skull Scab. And the 4th mana for Scattered Thoughts now. Make sure we hit a land every single turn. That's very important with Dreadfast Demon in hand. Dreadfeast Demon, I always call it Dreadfast. Sure. I hit a 5th land next turn, I get to cast the next Throng and a Hero's Downfall. This also thins the deck out so I don't accidentally just draw another Wretched Throng. Alright, land seems good to me. Probably not playing Repository Scab here. We're gonna go Throng, hold up Downfall. Shooting for that turn 7 Dreadfeast Demon. Could play the Stitched Assistant too, but I don't think we're sacrificing the Wretched Throng. Just bounce the Throng to hand, they draw a card. Sure. $20 life here, I'm not going to Downfall. Whispering Wizard, I will Downfall. Undying Malice in hand, save the Wizard, get a 1/1. Don't have a way to play around it, we don't have any counter spells or anything. They Undying Malice the Wizard, it happens. Alright, no Undying Malice, Wizard is gone. 1 mana from the Dreadfeast Demon. So this turn we Throng Assistant. Or we could just like Jacob Hauken Assistant. Jacob Hauken Throng. Any combination of these cards is pretty solid. If they tap out here next turn, we could just tap Jacob Hauken and put the Dreadfeast Demon under the enchantment side of it, because blue-black's not going to have ways to deal with the enchantment. So it'd be pretty safe. Alright, well. Yeah, blue-black can't really deal with enchantments, so let's just get the thing going here. And I think this is basically an auto-win game with multiple ridiculous bombs drawn this game. Yep, there's a concession. We are now 1-1. So So I would expect our opponent is probably now sideboarding in the triple syncopate against our deck, if they've got stuff like that. They don't actually seem to have a massive amount of removal, which is definitely good for us. But it also means I don't really see a huge reason to throw in Cradle of Safety, Undying Malice. I think I'm just running it back for the final game here. Our opponent is going to be on the play here, so this is where we got to get really scared of the aggressive start. Opponent takes a mole, we're going to take a mole as well here. Keepable hand this time, nothing exciting, but good enough to start. I don't believe we have double blue cards in this deck. Not really, we have Diver Scab and then Hauken. Those are both pretty expensive. I'd rather save the double black in case we hit Hero's Downfall. Persistent Specimen, turn 1. I hope our opponent's deck isn't just like the triple Skull Scab and we're going to run up against it all 3 games here. Because Skull Scab, turn 2 after Persistent Specimen, one of the most aggressive starts in the whole format. We will get demolished by that, as we did in the one game that we lost earlier. Yep. It's probably just going to be our second loss to turn 2 Skull Scab for 2/2/2s. I don't see much of a way out of this one. I'm going to do my best, but this is a pretty slow hand. We already molded 6, so we definitely couldn't afford to mold a 5. The writing may already be on the wall, this one. I'm out. I'm out. That'll do it for sure. Double Skull Scab. I guess they are the triple Skull Scab deck. Pretty fantastically synergistic deck there. There is no comeback from double Skull Scab at this point. They're going to have 4 2/2s out, turn 3 now, and her hand is very slow. That was the Nuts hand on the play. As can destroy you, no matter what massive nonsense you have in your deck. Potentially later in the game. So 2-1 it is. Pretty swingy deck, pretty swingy games altogether. Unfortunately did not make the 3-win run. I think just the amount of bombs and stuff in this deck certainly deserves it. But the color pair actually wasn't the most open thing in our sealed pool, I think. Like, sure, we got the really good bombs, but that's mainly because we opened them. When you open really good bombs in these kind of colors, we couldn't really afford to switch colors because of that. But at the same time, we weren't getting past like a boatload of fantastic commons, specifically the great removal and stuff being the main stuff, but also the synergy exploit cards weren't ultimately there, like Skull Scab and stuff that are some of the most powerful cards in the color combo. So the deck's lacking a little bit on synergy and a little bit on good removal. Obviously no copies of Bleed Dry is a bit rough. Having to run like a Grizzly Salvage here for the removal. But altogether, still a pretty good deck. We just opened incredibly powerful bombs in these colors, so, I mean, there was no way we're supposed to be in any other color pair this draft, but also not the absolute nuts dream draft where we get all of the ridiculous bombs and we're in the most open color pair, so we also have multiple bleed dries and stuff like that. So altogether, a fine run there, 2-1, just losing to the more synergistically focused blue-black deck in the final round there with, I'm going to assume, triple Skull Scab. They played it every single game against me on turn 2, and in the final game they played 2 copies of it, 1 turn 2, turn 3. Skull Scab, definitely the card of the day, the absolute destroyer of our hopes and dreams. 2-1, 1,000 gems, and 4 packs. That is going to end the draft for today's video. As always, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. If you want to see more of these videos, just stick around on the channel. You're at the right place. I do just a bunch of drafts and sealeds whenever I have the time. And as always, yet again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.